So we have two different ways, at least two different ways to make these footing lines go dashed. Okay, and we can also talk about materials and cross-hatching and stuff. If you don't want to see that, we'll wrap up all the stuff on materials and hatching later on in this series. So for now, we want to make these lines, outer lines, dashed. So the first way we can do it is by controlling it globally with a setting for line styles for the line style beyond. So what happens is with our view range, okay, when lines show up, back to my view range here, when lines show up in here, okay, view depth, which is why these are showing, they take on the line style beyond. Okay, so having said that, hit OK. So these lines are showing up and they are considered lines beyond. That's the key because they're beyond the view range in the lower part. So now what we can do is if you go to Manage and you go to Additional Settings here and you go down to Line Styles, okay, there is a line style called Beyond, okay, and that's what these lines are there for. So we can go in and we can say, well, let's change the pen weight. Let's make it a fatter pen and make it, a number 2 or a number 3. We can leave them black, but you can go in and change the color inside of here. And we can go in here and say, okay, well, I want them to be, dashed, 1/8 of an inch dashes. Hit apply and look what happens. Boom. Okay. So what's happening is this line style beyond is reserved for lines that show up in that view range, view depth. Lines that are showing up because of this take on the line style beyond. The only thing is it doesn't care if it's a footing or not. Any line that's in this project, in any plan view that is captured with that view range, view depth is going to take on this line style. So I don't really like that because it doesn't differentiate the footing from any other line that happens to be beyond. So this particular method does solve the problem, but the problem is if I go to, say, a second floor and there's a line down here that's being captured as a beyond line, I may not want it to be dashed. I may want it to be something else. So I'd have to override it, which I could, but the fact is I would rather leave my beyond thin and dark lines and then use and do this differently. Okay, so watch what I'm going to do. I'm just going to do an undo. Undo. That's it. What I've done inevitably by doing that undo is I've gone into my line styles and I've reversed that beyond. It's back to its normal state. Okay, so I'm going to leave this alone, but technically that would solve our problem. Next, I'm going to do a different solution is I'm going to create a new line type and I'm going to apply that. In Revit, you can go to any view, even a 3D view, and under Modify, there's something here called Linework. And what you can do is override the line style of any edge or line. So watch, if I go in here and pick this, I can now go in here and there's those same line styles that I was looking at before. I can say hidden lines, okay, and I can turn these into hidden lines. Now why my hidden lines are green in that, I'm not sure. That must be just the default, okay. There's two different actual types of hidden lines too, by the way. So you can go in and do something like that. Now there's another one in here. Here we go, hidden, which is this is a system line type. We're going to go in there and use that instead. Those are black. So there's the ones with the brackets are more of a system line style. Okay, so I can go in and paint those just like that. Escape, escape. So that is taking on the line type hidden. Oops, and I could also do this, right? Hidden. Boom, and then just pick. Do I have to do any more edges? Okay, we can make these so they get mitered at the corners too, so I don't have to go in and do this extra little bit. Okay, so that more or less solves that problem. Escape, escape. And then if I go into my line styles in here, okay, they're taking on this. So if I globally go in here and change this to be a 2 and just for example make it red and hit OK and apply and OK, they'll take on that information. So that works. I can use hidden line style, but I don't even want to do that. I'm going to go even one level more detail. So I'm back into my line styles. I wouldn't want this to be red anyway, so I'm going to click on there and just say, pick my black again. And hit OK. And leave it as a number 1. So hit apply, reverse that back so it's hidden using hidden 1/8. So that's the line style. Okay. And I used my Linework tool to apply that line style to these lines. But again, that will look like every other hidden line. Okay, so still not quite what I want. I want the footing lines to look different. So I'm going to create a new line style. I'm going to go into Manage. I'm going to go back in here, back in Line Styles, and I'm going to say I'm going to create a new subcategory here. And it's going to be called Footing Lines. Subcategory of the main category, lines, good. So now I have a new line style called Footing Lines. I'm going to make it a pen 2, make it a little thicker. Black is good. And I'm going to go in and make it, let's see what I have here. Hidden 1/16. Hit apply. Hit OK. Now what I'm going to do is go back and say modify, use my Linework tool to override, and now I'm going to go pick my footing lines I just created and pick on here. So all I'm doing is working my way around again, and I'm overriding the default line type. So they're still considered lines beyond, but I'm overriding that line style in this view with my Linework tool and making them footing lines. Okay, so you can take that same methodology and use it for anything. You can create a new line style, basically. Go into Manage, go into here, Line Styles. These are the default ones. These are the system ones with the brackets. You can make a new line style, put a pen weight, put a color, put a line pattern. Okay, once you have that line style, then you can go into any view, and you can even go into a 3D view, and you can go to Modify, pick your Linework tool, pick a footing line, and you can actually go in and do that in 2D or 3D. Okay, so that is per view. Okay, it's only specific to the view you're in. Doesn't apply to other views. Okay, to reverse that, you go in here and you set it to be by category. By category means go back to the way it was supposed to be without an override. So by category basically removes the override. We could do the same thing in here. Line style by category will turn it back and back to footing lines. Click on there. Escape, escape. So in summary, we used our view range to capture the lines for the footing. Then we tried using the beyond line style, which solved our problem, and then decided to use a Linework override instead and had to create a new footing line style. So there's some techniques on getting your footings to look the way you want, and basically using this Linework tool, you can do it in any view. You can go to an elevational view and click on here, and you can also say invisible lines. Invisible lines makes it go away. If you do invisible, you just don't see it. There's 2 of them there, so I had to click it twice. You see that? So you can make invisible lines. Undo, undo, undo. There we go. So a little bit of lesson on invisible lines, line work, line styles, and the view range.